Street Genius Part 1, I beg your pardon. Street Genius Part 2, Chapter 1, Don't Try. Charles Bukowski was an alcoholic, a womanizer, a chronic gambler, a lout, a cheapskate, a deadbeat, and on his worst days, a poet. He is probably the last person on earth you would ever look to for life advice, or expect to see any sort of self help book, which is why he is the perfect place to start. Bukowski wanted to be a writer, but for the decades his work was rejected by almost every magazine, newspaper, journal, agent, and publisher he submitted to. His work was horrible, they said, crude, disgusting, depraved, and as his stacks the rejection of slips piled up, the weight of his failures pushed him deep into an alcoholic fueled depression that would follow him for the most of his life. Bukowski had a day job as a letter filer at a post office. He got paid shit money and spent most of it on booze. He gambled away the rest at the racetrack. At night he would drink alone and sometimes hammer out poetry on his beat up old typewriter. Often he would walk Often he would wake up on the floor having passed out in the night before. 30 years went by like this, most of it a meaningless blur of alcohol, drugs, gambling, and prostitutes. Then, when Bukowski was 50, after a lifetime of failure and self loathing, an editor at a small independent publishing house took a strange interest in him. The editor couldn't offer Bukowski much money or much promise of sales, but he had a weird affection for the drunk cruiser. So he decided to take a chance on him. It was the first real shot Bukowski had ever gotten, and he realized probably the only one he would ever get. Bukowski wrote back to the editor, I have one of two choices: stay in the post office or go crazy, or stay out here and play at writer and starve. I've decided to starve. Upon signing the contract, Bukowski wrote his first novel. In 3 weeks, it was called simply Post Office. In the dedication, he wrote, dedicated to nobody. Bukowski would make it as a novelist and poet. He would go on and publish 6 novels and hundreds of poems, selling over 2 million copies of his books. His popularity defied everyone's expectations, particularly his own. Stories like Bukowski's are the bread and butter of our cultural narrative. Bukowski's life embodies the American dream. A man fights for what he wants, never gives up, and eventually achieved his wildest dreams. It's practically a movie waiting to happen. We all look at stories like Bukowski's and say, see, he never gave up. He never stopped trying. He always believed in himself. He persisted against all the odds and made something of himself. It is then strange that on Bukowski's tombstone, the epitaph reads, Don't try. See, despite the book sales and the fame, Bukowski was a loser. He knew it, and his success stemmed not from some determination to be a winner, but from the fact that he knew he was a loser, accepted it, and then wrote honestly about it. He never tried to do anything other than what he was. The genius Bukowski's work was not in overcoming unbelievable odds or developing himself into a shining literary light.